clarify the situation in relation to the European Commission's new skills agenda for Europe and what money has been applied for, or where this whole process is at? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Connolly. Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Connolly. The European Commission adopted its proposals for new skills agenda in Europe on the 10th of June. The Commission notes that all Member States face similar problems and opportunity with skills acquisition and development. The quality and relevance of education and training available, including teaching standards, learning in settings outside formal education. The Skills Agenda for Europe proposal seeks to strengthen and in some cases streamline existing initiatives to better assist Member States in their national reforms. There is no new funding available for this proposal. The EU has done much work into progressing the skills and framework in the development of, for example, the key competency framework for lifelong learning, mutual recognition for qualifications, cooperation on vocational education and training. The European Alliance for Apprenticeship, Student and Academic Mobility and Cooperation, the Youth Guarantee and the Youth Employment Initiative. It provides the European Social Fund €542 million for Ireland for 2014 to 2020. And of course the Erasmus Plus funding programme to provide funding in support of its policies. These initiatives have assisted Member States, including Ireland, to enhance the relevance, efficiency and flexibility of our upskilling strategies and our labour markets to meet the quality of increasing the competitive and globalised markets. And if you like, the proposal seeks a shared commitment to reform in a number of areas where European Union action brings most added value, improving the quality and relevance of skills formation, making skills and qualification more visible and comparable, and improving skills intelligence and information for better career choices.
Thank you, Minister.
Minister, I thank you for the clarification, but I understand that in addition to the European Social Fund, that extra funding was made available, in particular €21.2 billion for social inclusion and €30.8 billion for sustainable and quality employment. And I understood that this was a new initiative to great fanfare in June, given the extraordinary figures in relation to 70 million people lack the basic skills of reading and writing in Europe. And in Ireland, that amounts to 521,550 Irish adults who can't read at the most basic level. And then the figures for the numeracy are actually worse than that. And I've pointed out before that's 1 in 6, which is some improvement, but it's still over 500,000 people who have difficulty understanding even everyday text. So I understood from this fanfare that there was extra money available, and that's what I'm trying to clarify. And particularly given the skills gap as well, between the skills gaps that exist. Thank you, Minister.
Yeah. Thank you, Deputy. Well, first of all, Deputy, can I acknowledge what you're saying? 70 million Europeans lack sufficient reading, writing and numeracy skills, and 40% of the EU population lack a sufficient level of digital skills, which puts them at high risk, if you like, of unemployment, poverty and social exclusion. But there again, on the other hand, 40% of European employers report that they cannot find people, if you like, with the right skills to grow and innovate. And at the same time, a large number of others, particularly high qualified young people, work in jobs that do not match their talents and aspirations. I think to answer your question, that over the coming months, that to reduce, if you like, the high number of low-skilled adults in Europe, the Commission is proposing, and this initial proposal was only made on the 10th of June, so there will be further communications with the European Union regarding funding. But the Commission is proposing that a skills guarantee is established in cooperation with social partners, education and training providers, and this exactly is what will be done here in Ireland over the next couple of months.
Thanks, Minister.
The plan is to meet as many people that deal in education, further education, people that have taken themselves out of education, people in employment on low skills who want to upskill themselves. And there is a plan in operation that will with 9 regional managers that will be put in place shortly. To deal with upskilling and so on. So right now the funding is €542 million, but we are in constant contact with the European Commission and other states to ascertain what funding will be needed to comparatively deal with the problems we have with numeracy, literacy levels and underskilling in Ireland here.
Thank you. Very briefly.
appreciate if you would come back in relation to the money and in relation to timelines, because in addition to the figures that I've given you, 65 million people in Europe have achieved a qualification, less than upper secondary school and so on, and we can quote the figures, but what's clear is there is a crisis in terms of the amount of people who have serious literacy and numeracy problems through no fault of their own, and we need a programme to deal with that. When we do work, the figures actually improve, so it's crying out for a particular programme. So if the announcement was made that there was extra money for social inclusion and sustainable quality employment, where is that money? If you can't tell me today, I'd certainly welcome if you could come back to me. Thank you.
Don't forget that there is the Erasmus programme that also supports skills and development, education and training. There's nearly 15 billion in that fund right across Europe. So we get some funding for that. The amount we get, I'm not too sure, but I most certainly will come back to you on that. And there's other funds like the Asylum, Migration Integration Fund and the AMIF and Horizon 2020, which comes into that agenda, if you like. But I most certainly, Deputy, will come back to you with all of the details, all of the funding, the particular areas it goes to, and what the planned objective for that strategy up to 2020 is.
Thank you, Minister.
And I'll be back to you over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.